the 2 times it hasn't been banned have been 2 of 3 XDG victories. If they don't pick Olaf here, I will be very surprised.
A little mind blown if they don't. They're taking quite a bit of time here. Smithy has favored Sivir quite a bit. They will first pick that for him. But like you said, that Olaf is really up there as well.
I mean, if Curse hasn't played it that much, Voyboy used to be a big Olaf player, but now that he's a mid laner, they could potentially not favor it.
Yeah.
I Will Dominate, I haven't seen him jungling Olaf. But really, if they want to pick something here, it better be something they take directly away from Curse.
When Zuna has had a good start, the team has still faltered. You see Smithy having the good scores, but that has just been on an okay game from everyone. So they really don't have anything to bank off of.
He's really been around for the ride when they're doing well.
Exactly.
To get good scores. They're really taking their time. Of course, it's Olaf. They need to. Come on, Benny.
He's just smiling. He's like, we faked him out. Everybody was thinking we were doing something else. So looking to see what Curse answers with here. The Pantheon is gone, and so is the Wukong for Dominate. But there's quite a few things up that are left because of those focus bans.
Yeah, Vi, I think, will be his jungler. They don't necessarily need to pick it right away because there's plenty of more things available. Thresh, I think, is a very important thing to deny Bloodwater, and it's something Saintfish has showed a good proficiency for. But with Leona being up, that's going to be the Leona Ezreal combo instead.
Tried his hand at that yesterday, lock it in again. Back to XDG's side. Curse a little bit quicker in their picks on that one. Not feeling too scared about showing what their hand is in the bottom lane.
And I like how they locked it in at the same time. I don't know why more teams don't talk about picks without showing the enemy what they're going to pick before they lock it in. Because when they hover over picks and then lock in the same thing, they're giving the other team more time to respond to things. I don't know why teams just don't lock in as they're selecting their champion and then put the emphasis on the other team to not have as long to respond.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. Curse did it right that time in my book.
See, XDG has been using the full clock here. It's only been one pick, but they ran it down all the way. You know, they're not hovering.
Yeah.
So they're trying to play a little bit of a mind game here as well. Zuna and ManCloud on your screen. Those two are the ones picking in here. And against Curse, they have to be sure they don't let anything go early. Because once Voidboy gets going, once Dominate gets anybody going, Curse is off and running.
Yeah, that Annie pick is a little surprising to me, actually. With Thresh being up and Bloodwater only having 1 Annie game on the year thus far in a defeat. Very, very surprised that that's what they decided to go for in the bot lane. I actually feel like they're waiting much longer than usual to do the top lane picking. Normally we'd see the Shyvana, Mundo, Renekton, Trinity kind of picked really early on.
Right.
But I think especially with the threat of Quas on Curse, XG doesn't want to show that top lane hand super early because he might have a fringe pick that he wants to play against it, something like a Karthus again.
We got to say that ManCloud did actually have a pretty good game on Gragas yesterday when they played. XDG wasn't able to come up with that victory, but he himself finally started showing a bit of that KDA we saw from last season.
If they would have just fought with Quas when he had Karthus, I think Curse would have been much better off. They're going to need to remedy that today. They picked Mundo right now. That's pretty much certainly going to Quas. He's had mixed success so far on the Doctor, and that leaves a good counter pick for XGG. Trundle.
A little bit of the Stampede.
Yeah, exactly. Trundle can Stampede with Sivir and Olaf if they go in. Love that turn.
Yeah, that was a good one. Props to Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
What's
Sivir.
the last thing going to be? I don't think it's Corgi. Yeah.
They're looking for
Sivir would make so much sense. Come on, Smithy. There we go. Yeah, that's a heavy move speed composition once again. And they're going to hopefully get the Annie in range to land a powerful stun, and then they would all kind of fly in afterwards. I definitely like the team comp XGG has put together thus far. The Sivir comps, especially in the LCS, have showed so much success.
And leave quite a bit of power to Voidboy, as this is regular for them to leave his pick for the last one.
Yeah, and again, he brings out Vladimir. Played it once already. I believe that was against LeBlanc. It did not go well.
No.
But it should, in theory, go much better against Gragas, because if he can save his pool, he will be able to avoid the explosive cast from Gragas this entire game. I'd say there's a pretty bloody game, I think, is what we're going to be going into here, because obviously we talked about XGG's team composition, how it's Sivir ult to get Annie in range to stun, and then everyone just kind of starts blowing up if they decide to go in. Whereas if you look at Curse, so much hinges on St. Vicious' synergy with I Will Dominate, because those guys have to be able to land the CC in order for Voyboy to get his damage out. You don't see too many mid laners without crowd control be successful, just because crowd control from the mid lane is so key.
That's true. With that Vi and the Leona, they do bring a bit of that crowd control back, and it'll be interesting to see if the mid lane's focused, if they try to kind of go on to ManCloud and get him out of the way, since he was a bit of a factor in XDG's loss, which is weird to say, but he was.
Exactly. ManCloud, we talked about so much yesterday how he has not had a good season so far. He really needs to turn it around now. His Gragas had a decent score when he played it. So the fact that he's back on that is a good sign, I think, for XDG overall. And Vladimir theoretically shouldn't provide too much threat to him. Maybe he can have some time to roam around. All
right, well, the game's about to get underway. Let's check out who you at home have voted on to get this game in their pocket. According to LOEsports.com, 83% of you think that Curse is going to take the win.
Yeah. There's been a trend in the past of XDG just never getting the fan vote.
No.
This is one of those times. It's a 3-8 team versus a 4-7 team. Curse has looked much stronger in some of their losses, but it's definitely not one of those 80-20 games, in my opinion.
No one's helping them get that New Year's resolution of the vote. They want the vote on their side.
They want the vote.
Well, they got to show that they deserve the vote. Let's see what they can do. They usually start to do it at the end of the split, get themselves towards that top area of the standings. Let's see if they can do it here in the middle of the split. XDG coming out on blue side, Curse on red. We are here, week 5, day 2. Let's get game 45 underway.
Yeah, paying attention to this mid lane matchup a little bit. You can obviously see just the Doran's Ring and a boot start for Voyboy. He's going to try to use that extra mobility to dodge some of the Gragas barrels. There's also, ManCloud is looking to fight early on in the game because he's bringing the split penetration runes. He has Magic Pen and Armor Penetration. This happens every game, and they walk away from each other. But the Gragas has brought Armor Pen and Magic Penetration, along with what looks to be ability power quintessences. So that's because Gragas mixes physical damage and magic damage so much in the early game. He gets the AD from his W, as well as spamming spells.
We'll see if Voyboy can keep his distance with the transfusions and stay out of that body slam range. Looks like Saint and Cloud going to meet each other right here. ManCloud still just playing it very safe. I don't even think he's even chose a skill yet. No, he has not, even with the sight of Saint.
No need.
Nope.
They got a stun. You might consider skilling up body slam first, just to get the damage and the slow out. I got a ward over the wall. And another one.
Interesting, too. Bloodwater's sitting up there with him, and they're quite close. He hasn't even leveled anything or gone for the stun as well.
So check that out. XDG, some pretty aggressively placed wards there. They have vision of both of Curse's major buffs at the start of the game. It would be rather bold to try and invade, but that's actually what they're going to be able to try here.
We don't get very much of this lately.
If this doesn't succeed, it's going to put Zuna far behind early on. But see, this could end up being a smite race. That red buff is getting low. Curse running away.
We saw TSM be doing a bit of this yesterday.
Voyboy should have came up to help that out and just push them away, but he's not. He's staying in lane for the farm.
Have to watch and see if ManCloud actually starts to move up here as well. Looks like the action is actually going to be paused for a quick anyway. Tons of kills. Not going to get any of that this game. The red buff to Zuna. We're back on the Rift. We're back to get this game going. We're only 3 minutes in, and we've already had quite a bit of action. Zuna's going to go actually straight for his red to make sure that it is not going to get any funny play.
Yeah, smart move there by Zuna. So his early game jungle Olaf definitely panning out. His mana is going to run a little bit low, but he doesn't care much about that. And this will now be on I Will Dominate to clean his jungle and catch up in experience. Vi generally doesn't gank too well before level 6, and he's going to be delayed in that. If Curse needs to be able to stick to the lanes regardless of this early harass.
That's the ManCloud we're used to.
Yeah, those are those split penetration runes coming into effect. The barrel and the body slam hit harder, as well as his auto attacks. And Gragas is surprisingly auto attack based in lane when he's trying to deal harass.
Yeah, he's got that Drunken Rage fully charged. He went Q and then his E. W and then E.
Yeah, gets all everything leveled 96 up. AD this early in the game is one of the reasons Gragas is such an overpowering laner. Compare that to Voyboy, he's sitting at 57. The auto attack trades are just so disproportionate.
Still got transfusion to keep himself safe. Be really 7 or 9 before he can start fighting back strong. 200 gold in favor of XDG. Is that little bit of jungle pressure has given themselves mentally a little momentum, as well as even in the game. And they try to keep this bottom lane pushed up as well, so Cop and St. Vicious can't act on that Leona.
Yeah, and XDG is able to keep pressed up in these lanes because of the counter jungling they did to I Will Dominate. At worst, a blue buff vibe ball breakers into the lane, and that is not very threatening.
Zuna has actually gotten himself around the jungle as we see Quas giving himself a little bit of breathing room here versus Benny. Quas was able to get to his lane up top as Benny was kind of tangoing in the jungle before for the red, so he's got a bit of a level advantage.
Geez, that bottom lane CS advantage is pretty large too. 32 to 21 right now. Smithy and Bloodwater definitely pressing in much more than we're used to expecting.
Looks like Zuna actually is going down to the bottom side as well. All your lanes are winning. Fight the other jungler. Find where they are, and that's what he's going for.
That's what he's going for. Let's check out this invade. Catches him doing the white. Maybe. I mean, Zuna's got to be careful here because his bottom lane can't go through the turret to support him. He's trying to be an annoyance here, but it's putting himself in a lot of potential danger.
He was spot on with the positioning of Dominate. That lane of Xmithy and Bloodwater is pushing it, so they kind of give him an idea, a little bit of a sonar on where Dominate may be. 6 minutes in here. Quaz has it in his favor in the top lane now. Zuna approaching middle, but it looks like Boy already had himself in a good position to get out of that.
Surprising Zuna's not farming more of these mid lane creeps right here. You can tell there's a concerted effort by XDG right now to get ManCloud more involved in the game. Maybe a bit of a throwback to last split where they were actually winning a lot. I'd love to see more of that action out of XDG.
Yeah. ManCloud is somebody that they need to get going. We've seen him try to pull out Quas in the top lane. We saw that Quas does have a bit of a lead starting Doran Shield. 40 to 29 in that lane right now. It's like Benny still got himself a little bit of a CS lead, even though he got to lane late. Back in the bottom, these guys, like we said, we saw a little lead. Comp's been able to get himself into a pretty big minion wave and clear it back towards XDG, almost evening out the CS.
Still, not much actual action. The pause has really disrupted the flow of this game in a little bit of ways. Teams try and make it not so because they're not communicating in between the pauses, but constantly having to restart like this is definitely not easy on them. Is Zuna going to catch that pink ward? That's really big ward for him to be able to clear out. That was Curse's really insurance against Zuna trying to get in at that. We're not starting ward cheese again. No.
He's got some spidey sense today. He went in, checking for the Wraith, said, you know what, there might be something next to me. He is doing everything he can to shut down Dominate, and teams have seen that that is the easiest way to get under the skin of Curse. Level 6 is in the mid lane. Finally, a pink ward just below as well, so Curse was focusing 2 pink wards there. We just saw Zuna take one of them out, and they're trying to get a little bit of ground back now.
It was a pretty uncommon brushes for the jungler to check as well. XGG laning pretty strong here, and I think, you know, that's the plan. When Zuna invades I Will Dominate's jungle, they're delaying his level 6, which means XGG's lanes can play more aggressive because there's no threat of the Vi gank. When I Will Dominate's level 6 is going to be when he wants to try and get aggressive and start turning some of those ganks around. Zuna has not necessarily ganked on Olaf, but he has been giving his team just freedom because he's been in the Cursed jungle so much, even if he hasn't made any direct plays.
We see ManCloud going down, getting a little bit of hit on the Wraiths. I don't believe he took all of them. It doesn't seem like it. We see 10.1 to 9.8. Dragon is still yet to be taken right now, and we still have yet to see the stampede of XDG come to fruition. They're not obviously grouping with the laning phase right now. Dominate getting his blue up top. We'll see what XDG can do when they do break this laning phase.
Yeah, maybe a big dragon fight would be coming in. ManCloud is much more farmed than we're used to seeing. This is the type of lane advantage that we were seeing from him in the summer split of 2013. And also, I Will Dominate is going to be looking for this gank in the bottom lane.
Only has the blue buff on this one. We'll see what they can get in. St. Vicious letting this lane push up just enough, but still positioning himself for the Zenith. Doesn't look like XDG is going to bite on that. There's a little bit of wasted time in the bot lane for Curse. 400 gold lead. It's all that ManCloud and team are working with. It's pretty much his, the 81 CS lead, a bit of that red buff we saw in the beginning by Zuna. Like you said, though, Zuna not making too much of an impact to help in that mid lane. Voidboy's not the easiest one to gank either on Vladimir.
No, you don't really try and gank a Vladimir. It's one of the reasons we haven't seen many ganks from Zuna. With that, picking the Olaf so early, it does allow Curse to pick their team compositions around not necessarily being that gankable by Olaf. He's not going to gank Mundo very well. Ganking Ezreal lane is next to impossible, and same with a Vladimir. Curse has picked actually very safe lanes, even if they were getting pushed in a little bit. They're very difficult to gank.
Interesting that XDG is no longer going to use the timers or the buffs to get back onto Zuna. They just go back to regular ganks in the lanes on this. This
could be their brute force gank in the top lane, though. We've seen a lot of Olaf ult straight up turret dives because he gains so much resistance and health from that. Then he can ignite down Quas's ultimate if they decide to get that. Zuna's moved all the way up into the top brush. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get the creeps in the right position. Quas is keeping the lane farmed enough that they're not actually getting the opportunity to surround him around the turret.
He's got a Giant's Belt on his first back there. See what he can do. Did not have to teleport back to lane, so if he does get taken out, he can get back. Won't miss much.
They'd have to go now if they're going to go.
Looks like it's going to be the back. They want Quas to use something, go hard, but he is not going to bite on this.
Indecisiveness there by XDG. They were probably waiting for a counter gank. They were hoping that because he was playing so aggressive that I Will Dominate would be there, but it wasn't the case.
A little bit of a different game from the junglers we've seen in the form of aggression. Dominate usually within the lanes by now, even if he was hit up. We saw a bit of that on Gragas, but he's had a pretty quiet Vi game so far.
Yeah, especially considering the last Curse game against EG was such a bloodbath. Curse is the type of team to play incredibly aggressive in the early game and just create action all over the place. But at the same time, we talked to Zekant right before the game, and he said he was expecting a very slow laning phase in early game from Curse. There's a big chance they had a bit of a post-game meeting and were saying, all right, let's take less dumb initiations. And they're just trying to play this safe. Knowing they have a Vi jungler as well, they really hit their power around level 6 or 7.
Great ward coming in from McSmithy as the bottom lane thinks of the dragon for a little bit, and they do call it correctly on that. No gold lead really being picked up by Curse. I should say the gold deficit to be closed by them. As ManCloud stays in mid. 122, highest farm in the game. Looks like he's going to go for the Athenes to start this one off, so Voyboy can't wipe him out of that lane.
It's been taking wraiths a lot too, which is inflating his CS
over and over
to about 124, 34 ahead of Voyboy. Not the best performance by Voyboy. He is, you know, we haven't talked much about his transition into the mid lane. Hasn't worked out that well. He can bring some off-brand champions occasionally, but his lane dominance hasn't been there every time. Knowing that ManCloud went back, though, this is a very timely Dragon by Curse.
They did try it once, but power in numbers is what's going to give him the upper hand here. Going to dominate. Still keeps his head in the game and knows plays need to be made. Gets the team Dragon.
Just a timing Dragon right there. They knew there was a ward inside the Dragon Pit, but didn't necessarily care. Ends up to even out the gold. Kind of make up for Voyboy being so far down to ManCloud.
Voyboy looking like he's going to build up on that Leandries first. A little bit of aggression here from ManCloud with the explosive cask. Nice job on the Sanguine Pool. He'll be quite safe here. Will he, though? Throws down the Hemo Plague. It looks like Zuna, he gets kind of different decision but once he gets in between the turret.
Interesting choice by ManCloud there. Popping his ult so early because otherwise he thinks Voyboy could have used his Pool of Blood. But of course he was still able to dodge a lot of skill shots with it and ultimately leads to a survival. Knowing that they burn the flash, though, is a positive for them. They can go back there later.
It was a hard lane. We said it was going to be the gank for Voyboy, but they still are going to try to get ManCloud
really
a bit of kills.
Too.
It's going to be hard for them. That's the amplified damage they need. He's the AoE they're bringing for the team. So if he's not going to be bringing impact damage, who is? Hopefully Cop can get himself going in that bottom lane. They're behind as well, and St. Vicious looks to make it even farther behind. Bloodwater goes down right quick. Cop gets himself a kill.
That's why that Leona Ezreal lane has rose to so much prominence. The biggest thing that made that gank successful was the fact that Cop hit that ultimate through no minions. The damage fall off on that ultimate is really high, but it's a ridiculously damaging spell if you land it initially. So Saint got the combo, it stunned him in place, therefore Cop could land his ultimate, shift in for more damage, and it's enough to 100 to 0 almost anyone you catch in that, while still being a safe lane.
A little bit of a mistake there to allow a Leona that much brush control in the bottom lane. St. Vicious taking full advantage. Gets himself first blood with the team. Saint actually keeping that keeping that in his pocket. When he was a jungler back in the early seasons, he was always the jungler to have the most hands in First Bloods, and he's doing it on support too.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
So he gets his hands in First Blood.
That's what Curse said. We talked to him the first day in the studio after playing with Saint, and we're like, when he's on the team, all the fights are go, go, go. It's keep going, keep going.
Which is actually why I thought the I Will Dominate jungle for Curse made so much sense, because he's always been that type of player as well. And so is Voyboy. The whole team is just kind of go, 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 with Cop in the back telling everyone to calm down. That hasn't necessarily worked out for Curse, but it has provided some entertaining games. That's not the style we're seeing from them this game, however.
See ManCloud going over to get blue buff, not even being contested by Curse at all. It could be a very big move if they wanted to try, but right now they don't have the means to do it. It looks like XDG tries to get back to the lane, thinking they can just quickly take down Curse. This could be a double kill coming in here for Cop. Smithy goes down, or Cop feeling good.
Yeah, that was just all out aggression. Good call by Saint and Cop to go in right then. As soon as Leona burns the support's flash, it is just time to go for them. Now Benny's got to watch out in the top lane as well.
This could be very bad. Benny is easily going down on this one. Assault battery. The vault has been broken, and the last punch comes in.
A lot of times these games that have a very slow early game just happen to explode at a certain moment, and Curse decided to turn on. At that point, the 2v2s in the bottom lane have been not even aided by the jungler, which meant I Will Dominate was free to gank other lanes. He decided to go top, and it's all working for Curse right now.
Crazy they decided to go now instead of the level 6s. They just wanted to wait a little bit longer, but who cares? Curse up now 4. They sure don't. 23,000 gold to 20.5. XDG falls behind a little bit, but they still have ManCloud in mid. We haven't seen the full potential of this Gragas yet. He hasn't really been toyed with.
No, he will need to enter the game fairly soon if he wants to keep XDG in this one, knowing that they've already fallen behind a fair bit in the gold. It's just a continuation of this story for XDG. 2013 split. No one could really figure out why they were winning all their games from the outside. It was because they dominated the early game.
Yep.
They would always have a big advantage, and then teams would just kind of fall over afterwards because they lost their lane so badly. That definitely hasn't been the case.
Speaking of dominate, they gave him trouble in the beginning. He's got a kill for himself, and he's ahead in CS. It didn't really factor into the game, stealing that red.
No, it was a nice pregame plan.
Right.
I think it could have transitioned into some good stuff, but since then, Zuna hasn't been able to find the lanes. And I think that's a team composition thing from Curse. They saw the Olaf get picked very early, and they picked very difficult to gank lanes. Therefore, Zuna hasn't had an impact.
I like this right here. Dominate sticking with that flash down in the lane of Benny. They just got a kill off of him, and as he comes back to lane, they want to do it again.
Well, they got the assault and battery back up. They know the flash is down. They can land a full charge vault breaker. They're going to get him again, or they're just going to walk in the lane. This has a lower chance of working, but here it goes.
There's 1-2. The punches come in. They're not going to have an ignite, so it's really going to have to be a tough battle. The hits are all going to have to count. They don't even have to go that far into the turret.
I Will Dominate did land the vault breaker after the assault and battery, so it was able to get enough damage out for the kill. Good cleavers by Quas all around as well to keep the run away slow by Benny. They're punishing him pretty well.
17.5 minutes into the game, 202 farm on ManCloud right now. They need to start grouping up a little bit and see what power this guy has.
Well, Voyboy's just trying to keep him interested as long as he can.
Yeah.
He knows he's in a losing lane right now. I think ManCloud wants to finish off this turret before he starts roaming, and that's really what's keeping him in check. Outside of that, XGG's lanes, especially bottom lane, have just kind of been losing 2v2s. So it's out of plan for XGG. Teams don't plan to lose 2v2s, and it really messes with your strategy when that starts happening.
Just about 100 HP per transfusion. That's not what you want to see on Voyboy's side. He's probably not liking that matchup at all. ManCloud feels comfortable enough to get a 1v1 for himself if it happens here. The team just waiting off in the fog of war. There's a hit into the wall. Dominate looks like he should have enough to get out of this. The teleport is coming in. Great pillar is going to slow down Quas instantly on the entry. Zuna's a little too deep here. Here goes Bloodwater flashing into the middle of the fight. He throws down Timbers, but is he too far in? Cop is actually taking out a Smithy below the fight, and they don't get that kill, but it is going to be going down on a Bloodwater. Dragon possibly coming in here. XDG scrambling.
Yeah, Curse is still really low for this Dragon, though. There's a lot of poke from XDG. Should be able to push him off.
That ManCloud, we are seeing him now. They're grouping up on the side of Curse, and that one barrel just totally pushed him off a Dragon.
Yeah, even so, though, a 2-for-1 for Curse, and I have to say, a complete overcommit. by XGG. ManCloud did not land a proper combo. He missed his body slam, and then instead of knocking backwards, he knocked into the side, which meant XGG couldn't get the first kill. But at that point, they were overcommitted, and Curse could chase. However, because Curse re-engaged the Dragon, this is a potential take for XGG if they're aggressive enough.
Well, both teams trying to get out of the gates here.
Just got to damage it.
Definitely found a good lead so far. Cop is just going to do what he can to get some Mystic shots in. XCG full control on this. Good map pressure, good map control. They pick up Dragon. 19 minutes in, we're going to see that 25-40 Dragon coming up. That's the first of 2 for them.
Yeah. Despite being so far down in kills, because of the turret and because of that last Dragon, the gold is still pretty close. Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is the later in the game the Dragon is, up until the average level in the game is level 15, the Dragon is worth more gold. So even though it is a 1-for-1 trade for Dragon, XGG's Dragon was more valuable.
Definitely what they needed. We said both of these teams are looking for momentum. As we go through the inventories of what this gold has accrued, we see the Blade of the Rune King on Benny being built up. A needlessly large rod and the blasting wand shows. Rabadon's for ManCloud. He's going very hard here. He doesn't have to worry about the Zanyas, so he's looking for the power.
And he needs it. He also needs to be able to land those spells in succession. Gragas is an incredibly difficult champion to perfect. And ManCloud has not shown the proper combos as of yet when playing that. He had a really good barrel in a Baron fight yesterday where he was able to nearly blow up the entire Coast team. But it wasn't enough to take him to victory because it was actually, in that game, Zion Spartan who got completely out of control. They're going to have to worry a bit about Quas getting a bit out of control against Benny here because the few Owl Dominant ganks have really messed him up.
Yeah, Quas 103, keeping up in CS, still trying to be a factor in the team here. Dominate has had quite a factor in the top lane. We'll see how that transfers somewhat towards this mid-game now. We're at 21 minutes in, and Curse has a pretty demanding lead. Mid-game now is where we actually said XDG has had better communication, but can it be from, I guess not this far down, but this position?
Yeah, they're not where they want to be,
right?
But they're absolutely not out of this game yet. The fact that they'll still have Zuna's Olaf, who's fairly farmed. You know, they have an incredibly farmed Gragas, who could maybe turn this game around if he lands his skills properly. Uh-oh.
Holding hands on the ward side. Boy leveled down right now on ManCloud in that mid lane. Dominate to the bottom side. They need to get something. Want to get something.
Pink ward clearing. Whiffed ultimate right there by St. Vicious. Trying to get a pink back. Let's see if this cart's a fight.
That was quite an interesting solar flare, and I think St. Vicious is going to pay for that one. Cop maybe actually on the other side of this. That Ragnarok is on, and they will not hit the next undertow.
Just a total misplay of the ward battle by St. Vicious right there. Cannot go into enemy territory to clear a pink ward when you just burned your ultimate. He was completely susceptible to a collapse, and it cost them the pink ward battle and maybe this tower.
Could be the tower. It looks like it will be the tower. They're not going to push off. They have Tibbers, if necessary, for a few more seconds there in the hands of Bloodwater. So XDG doing what they need to, grabbing a little bit. They still have 3 minutes before we see that Dragon come up. So this will be a back for them.
Yeah, crawling back in the game.
Yeah, they are.
One misplay by St. Vicious and a good Dragon, and now ManCloud's going to try and enter the fray. There's no magic resist on Quas right now, so if they can get the Ignite down, they might be able to get a kill.
That might be the first. Oh,
gotta land it all.
The Ignite hits, but oh my gosh, that shows how big ManCloud is. They didn't even need the cast.
That was interesting. The fact that he was able to blow him up. Now he can go by a death cap, which makes him even more scary. Oh dear, he didn't even have his death cap for that. All right, ManCloud's powerful. But he's got to land his spells. He'll get away with it that time. He can't miss those giant barrels. 9,200 gold. Look at that. 2.2 thousand ahead of Boy right now in mid.
He's already coming up towards 300 CS under 25 minutes in the game. We'll see what he can do. He's been taking everything in the jungle. Wouldn't be surprised if he does Wraiths, Wolves as he gets out of here. The team is rotating to pretty much help everywhere. Bloodwater doing a good bit of roaming for the team.
Yeah, and to be completely fair to Voyboy, ManCloud has been taking jungle minions.
Yes.
So some of the gold that Voyboy is missing is because it's in the hands of I Will Dominate, who is substantially ahead of Zuna as a jungler. It's a team game at this point. We'll have to see which pays off better. But because ManCloud is so ahead in items, and items generally multiply themselves in damage, having that concentration in gold on one person is right now more valuable.
And that concentrated person being the area of effect damage for your team. Dominate with that gold. Can single somebody out, but also gets himself singled out here.
Really throwing out those ultimates with not much.
Not much care in world. Oh, he finally goes down. That's good gold going over to Voidboy. Only 2 kills shut down, but he gets a double kill. Could be coming in for a third one. They're looking for Bloodwater. I don't think he's getting out. That On the Hunt is there. The Talisman of Ascension was already used. The Moby Boots, no, they get triggered back off, and they're going right under the turret. The pool's going to be used. He throws down the Tibbs. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah, that was a disaster for XDG. Once again, though, it's an ultimate being used just out of place. That's how XDG lost their last team fight near the Dragon area. ManCloud uses ultimate on one person, not even to secure a kill.
Right.
And then they do not immediately retreat. When that big of a threat is down for the team, they have nothing left, and Curse just collapsed on him. It gives kills back to Voidboy, puts him completely back in the game, and now Curse is in the driver's seat.
Sometimes you trick yourself into thinking you're a bigger threat than you are, and the other team knows when that is not the case. We see Curse take advantage of the game once again. XDG was just in the bottom lane. They just got the bottom turret.
Yeah, you can see the lockdown onto ManCloud as well. Assault and battery right to the Leona ult, and that just meant the threat was pretty much down. Xmithy didn't have anything to hit because Voidboy was literally underneath him in a pool of blood. And this is a nice chase. The Tibbers actually snapped back from Bloodwater because he'd gotten so far away. Cop was out of mana, so he had to flash in. And he gives that sweet kill right at the end. Dragon's up, though.
He probably still would have died, but props to that Mystic shot for Cop because it kept triggering the mobility boots off.
And right here, Curse needs to stall this until Voidboy's ultimate is up. Quas is also waiting on that as well. If XDG were timing that ultimate, they would go right away, but they're being hesitant because they just made a couple mistakes.
Always playing this with Xmithy on the bottom side. He's never fully with the team, but they are still able to get the On the Hunt when necessary from that AoE effect that you just walk into. We'll see how XDG continues to position this. Cask is up. Voidboy
needs
just
a few more seconds. Yep, not quite up with Hemoplague. When it is, though, it would have a huge impact. XDG trying to push out the mid lane, too, to draw Curse into different positions. And that choke point is ridiculously dangerous against Agragas if they were to all get caught.
Look how close Xmithy can get with really no worry. Spell shield, anything Saint throws at him. Get out.
Might just go.
They go on to Zuna. The Ragnarok is blown off there. The True Shot Barrage just splitting the uprights on that. Nobody really wants this fight. Still going on to Benny. Now he's very low here. Quas in and out. Curse, St. Vicious into the middle. Dominates in there with him as well. 1 down, 2 down for Curse now. Zuna has fallen in the fight, but it looks like XDG is going to be able to chase Curse right out of this.
Yeah, very good fight by XDG right there. ManCloud assassinated Voidboy in the back of that one before he could have a big impact. Also, the Hemoplague that they had waited so long on for Curse just didn't have a big impact. I think XDG can take a Dragon off the back of that one.
Good movement, good pressure. It took them a little bit. They had to dance it out and figure out a way to make Curse initiate first, and it was Saint Zenith right onto Zuna that really allowed him that confidence.
And then they just couldn't really combo everything on after that. Again, this back and forth game, that was actually a very well-played fight that time by these guys. Let's check out how they go in. Obviously, the ultimate splits the uprights, but maybe not best well-played fight. Well-played fight for XDG. Yeah. Curse's skills didn't necessarily land as they wanted. No True Shot Barrage, no Hemoplague, and a poor Solar Flare meant XDG could completely capitalize because they landed their skills like they wanted.
Cop real afraid to get in this fight after he uses Arcane Shift to get out. ManCloud pretty much was on the backside, but looking right at him with all that damage. He's the only one peeling for himself. That's the way Cop's usually playing in the back line. 28 minutes into this one, still 11-5, and the kills are spread out nicely. There are more than one strong member on Curse to make this happen.
Very interested in Cop's item build right now. Knowing that he's against an Olaf and a huge tank line that wants to get at him, you would think he would have finished his last Whisper by now, but he's itemizing like he's going for an Infinity Edge instead at this point, which would mean he's trying to kind of sneak around the back and then focus down onto Sivir, Annie, and Gragas. That complicates things a little bit for Curse. It kind of tells me that their teamfight plan is just try and ignore Benny and Zuna. It's really hard to ignore those two guys. They're a ridiculously strong front line, and they can slow so much that you generally can't get past them.
XDG is walking all over the front door right now. Not even backing. Cop and St. Vicious are forced to walk the long way home around the top side of red. And it looks like they'll be okay for now. XDG still holds this, very confident with the power of their team right now.
Yeah, and because of the item build, actually, of xSmithy, even though he is down about 200 gold on Cop, he's doing a lot more damage right now on Sivir. Knowing the Last Whisper is completed adds so much damage. Armor penetration is an incredibly key stat at this point in the game. Just not working. Right now, though, Curse trying a bit of a split push, and XDG trying to make headway in the mid lane.
XDG has been able to use this composition to its full effect. All the fights have been face-to-face. They haven't had to use the Stampede to really initiate anything that would take Curse off guard.
Yeah,
so
hardly
they
at all.
still have that trick if they want to kind of pull it out. Curse may not be ready for it. Benny in the top lane. He will back. It looks like it's going to be good coverage. Smithy, Bloodwater to the top side as Quaz may get this bottom.
And what's actually interesting about the Sivir in this case is since Curse is itemizing and playing like they only care about the backline of XDG, they're more just using the move speed to kite backwards on Curse and finish them off as they come towards them. It's not so much about running through Curse since they're running such that hard-to-gank team that we're talking about, or even hard-to-catch team. They're waiting for Curse to come to them and then responding.
And quite an interesting build. Voyboy obviously still going to do damage, but he's not going for huge bursts. Rylai's, Leandri's, and then he's got Triforce on both the Vi and the Ezreal now.
Yeah,
damage
interesting
from everywhere.
Triforce by Owl Dominate, trying to get a little bit more damage on his fights because he's been taking so much farm, and he was having a successful game. Oftentimes you'll see junglers who really want to try and take over, fit that damage item in with the rest of it, but really they need to start winning the game right as they build that damage item. Because they've picked a mixed build path of some damage and some defense, it doesn't multiply well into the late game, and the scaling on it actually isn't that impressive.
332 CS, 31 minutes coming in on the clock. ManCloud still trying to make himself even bigger, and he's gone, I wouldn't say glass cannon. ManCloud is a big man on Gragas, but he still doesn't have too many tanky stats to help himself in these fights.
Bet you go Zonya's next. Yeah, Needless to Larstrad working towards that. 501 ability power. ManCloud's ability to land his skill shots is most likely going to be the deciding factor in this game. So much of XDG's gold is concentrated onto him. And there are so many squishy targets on Curse. There's no magic resist on Cop and no magic resistance on Voyboy. If ManCloud could reach them, I think it decides the game.
Well, XDG is still staying quite split. This is really what we saw them doing, kind of baiting out the Baron when they thought they had a lead, trying to force their opponent into something that they wanted. Talisman of Ascension, and nothing was used. No, both Talisman of Ascensions go off. That's going to be a St. Vicious going down. He's trying to ward again.
You really have to question what he was doing up there. That was another time he got caught. This time, though, ManCloud gets caught as well.
Oh, he uses the cast, gets Voyboy out of range. He actually might have saved himself. He's hiding in the red pit. Oh, Dominate jumps over the wall, and they do find him in the game of peekaboo. Zuna and Bloodwater trying to get back to Xmithy. He's stealing all the life back that he needs, but Voyboy can steal life better. Bloodwater and Zuna are being chased out of the fight now. Everybody's just flashing to flash to get back in range right now. Zuna finally falls. Curse goes coast to coast with some kills.
Yeah, and Benny is nowhere to be found. This will be a Baron take for Curse. You really have to question right there. It's a game of cat and mouse. Everyone hide and go seek. They're getting caught in the wrong places. First off, St. Vitus get caught, but the big one is ManCloud getting caught. So much of his damage was burned trying to escape, and this fight is a perfect example of how much of XDG's damage and investment is into ManCloud. As soon as he went down, XDG is screwed. They have to completely run away from everything. Voyboy completely took out xSmithy from the flank, and there was no escaping the chase of Mundo and the Rylai's on the Vladimir.
Unreal. One of those situations again of thinking you're a little bit bigger than the rest of the people around you, sitting in that bush, waiting to zero somebody out from 100 to 0, and he actually finds a little bit more than he wanted. Curse starting to gain themselves back a 2,000 gold lead. Kills still in their favor. They only have one turret.
Yeah.
They haven't been really able to act on anything after these kills, so we'll see if that starts to happen. They have Baron now, so big things.
Well, it's an objective game. There's so much gold sitting on the map for Curse right now, but this fight could be absolutely huge if St. Vicious decides to go in for a quick engage, knowing that they have the Baron buff. But even so, right now, this game is very, very difficult for XG to close on because they're in a position where they've already pushed in the turrets. So it's not like they can control objectives to get gold back. But Curse is actually stronger in fights, meaning they should be able to take some of the map control with them And there's so many objectives still for Curse to take. It's just gold that has been sitting on the map that they haven't collected yet. Now when they do, their lead is going to balloon.
All right, now this just strengthens that fact right there. Curse surging with power now. They move down the mid lane. We just saw On the Hunt being used defensively from Dominic just to get away. Curse is going to flex their muscles now, coming up to these turrets. Voyboy, needlessly large rod for him, so he's finally starting to build out that Rapidons and get a huge burst of power in.
Voyboy had a very difficult landing phase, but he's come in pretty clutch in some of these fights. Definitely, he hasn't been the one getting caught out of position as well, and because there's so much investment by the XDG team into ManCloud's Gragas, if he doesn't play perfectly, it's a lot of pressure on him. If he does not play perfectly on a champion that is all skill shots, very easy to miss or even get outplayed, XDG is just going to fall apart.
Yep. Well, he's got to play
perfectly
right now against a 3-0-7 Dominate and a 5-0-5 Cop. Those two know exactly what perfectly is right now. If ManCloud can get that back, he can take any one of those two players out in just a matter of seconds. Right now, he's left to the farm duty in the top lane. It looks like he won't have to spend too much time there at all.
Yeah, but they saw him up there for a split second. Ooh, pushed in a little bit harder. Not the best turret siege, though, for Curse.
Almost enough to act onto that. They don't have the greatest way to take down turrets on the side of Curse. They got to get real close.
No, they got the Ezreal, who was going completely glass cannon. We've seen this before from a farm Gragas. He can get barreled two-shotted if he gets caught by the wrong thing, but XDG has to give up that turret. Baron buff too much. Relentless assault.
Curse playing it smart, keeping it in their head that they don't have to go over their boundaries here to get that turret. They don't have to dive. Looks like they're going to get the top lane and try and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, this next turret. Oh, good lord.
Oh, what just happened? Exactly what you said. 2 spells. That came from ManCloud. Cass coming in with the body slam. I don't even think the body slam, rather, just the other barrel. And we'll see what they can do off of this. Curse is scared.
Yeah, that's the moment for XGG and try and retaliate. Saint Vicious there picks up a Banshee's Veil. Probably a good call. After that happens, it was because his resistances were lowered by Benny's ultimate as well before that made him blow up even faster.
Oh, to subjugate Cass.
That's one way to stop a team from pushing.
Very nicely played.
Yeah, we'll get a clean look at this right there. Yeah, he pretty much just died. Not much more to say about that. That was a clean burst of damage. A bit of auxiliary damage from the Olaf axes, but good lord. That was the properly pulled off combo by ManCloud right there. Shows you how lethal he can be.
So far Ken hit the skill shots. Fight number 1 that we're looking at here. There have been a few at Dragon. Dragon's going back and forth between these two teams, but that gold has really surmounted to what it is now. 63,000 we'll say for Curse to the 58,000, let's say 57.5. Curse's lead in gold doesn't mean they have this game won, but they, like you said, are starting to win the fights.
Yeah, 5,000 gold lead now, and the fights are going to get pretty interesting here. You can see Cop has his full damage build.
Yeah.
Might even get a Mercurial Scimitar after that if he wants to get even more aggressive. But Voyboy is actually at a point that's really scary right now if you're XDG's backline. Voyboy is going to be able to get through and basically dual X-Smithy. Yeah. So because he has his Pool of Blood and his Zhonya's, it's going to be really difficult for X-Smithy to get his damage in between where he wants. And that's kind of like the second thing I want to keep track of is whether or not X-Smithy can deal with all of the push that goes straight into him at this point. He hasn't built, he doesn't have his GA, he doesn't have his full damage item yet. And since ManCloud's spells are so instanced, he only has the 2 real rotations, and then he has to wait a little bit. That time in between is going to be very key for XGG, whether X-Smithy can keep himself alive.
We did see Voyboy was on X-Smithy in that last fight quite hard, and even with that spell shield, we said the Ryla is keeping everybody closed in. Then Mundo comes in, slows you down. That gives St. Vicious the chance. Everything's synergizing for Curse now as they get out of the laning phase and well into the fighting. Looks like they are still giving each other respect, though, as the top lane is the one to be taken.
Well, that was a talisman burn for nothing.
Yeah.
X-Smithy pretty much just looked at him funny and they started running away. It's because Quas is split pushing and Curse will need to wait for the teleport to go in, so they would not want a clean initiation to happen on them. Because XGG couldn't find that fight immediately, though, this split push begins anew.
Curse was actually at a point in this game when that teleport really didn't mean much. They were up against the wall in their base. Quas now able to use it again, getting the split push back down for Curse.
They really need to force something right now.
They're on the hunt, and the talisman, vroom, vroom, coming from XDG. Voyboy goes right into the fight. Can he get the Hemoplague down? No, he goes straight for the Zanyas, and it looks like he's going to die after this. No, he gets a bit of damage after that. It was 1-2 kill.
Dead, though.
Retribution back and forth for each other. Curse and Saint going in very hard. Xmithy on the back line has to flash on the cleaver. Zuna finally going down. The health bars are pretty tanky on the side of XDG. Curse is feeling that, but they're also feeling the gold-filled pockets after these kills. Another one onto Bloodwater, and what Curse has been looking for.
All told, a 4-for-1. That was a forced play by Curse because of the split push, and then the team fight just worked out for them. You can see Voyboy and ManCloud both kind of traded. ManCloud got locked down by I Will Dominate and did not have an impact in that fight. He was unable to take out Cop, and then once again, when he is dead, it's a full retreat for XDG. Quas just got in the face of Xmithy. Sivir, as strong as he is right now, could not deal with it, and this could be the end of the game for him.
It is going to be the end of the game. 20-second timers there for XDG. What a turnaround for Curse to be holding at their base for 2 to 3 minutes. Pull the game back into their favor. Beautiful game by Dominate and Cop.
Yeah, Dominate, even though he didn't aid the mid lane very often, the team could still come out on top. It's actually fairly rare you see games like this because everyone says it's such a mid lane focused game. The Curse was able to sacrifice Voyboy's well-being in the mid lane with Dominate ganks elsewhere and still have a strong game. Even Voyboy did well in team fights.
Curse definitely persevered through that one. Not every lane was having a good time.
No, especially not Voyboys.
And we got to give credit as well to Dominate, doing well. He was counter-ganked, and I guess XDG thought that one red buff was enough, that Dominate would be thrown off, but he used that as fuel to come back even harder. Yeah,
Dominate has been known as a player that goes on tilt from time to time, but this was not one of those games. 3-0-11 to go along with 7-0-7 from Cop. There was a few little hiccups in that game for Curse. Definitely a lot of work left for them. St. Vicious got caught out a couple of times. I can count 3, actually, just off the top of my head. But the rest of it was good.
He knew to get advantage.
A lot of the shot calling coming from his way. It's a very difficult role to play when you're trying to shot call for others and still worry about yourself. Common mistakes.
And very interesting the way that they dealt with Mandatory Cloud and just not go near him. Allow XDG to get really antsy, throw off the On the Hunt and the Talisman, and just wait for that to wear off.
As farmed as ManCloud was that game, 400 CS, but only 4 kills and assists if you combine them.
Right.
3 kills, 3 deaths, 1 assist. Despite all of the resources XDG was giving to ManCloud, he couldn't take down Curse.
Yeah, clearly being given to him. We saw in the mid lane he was being given farm, or not XDG, or Zuna wasn't taking the farm. Just walked right away from a giant camp, you mentioned. Very interesting play. We'll see if XDG can get these holes plugged up that really are letting the losses leak through.
Yeah, XDG, another loss for them. Catapults them a little bit farther back in the standings. Remember, this is a team that was at the World Championships last year. They still have the potential to turn this around. They just have to find it.
All right, when we come